And the first thing that we will do after we've called this meeting to order is we've got to allow for a couple of our people who would like to call in, and that would be County Board members Brian Elsesser and Betty Duncan. And we also would like to allow for Brian Johnson from the Sanitary District also to be brought into the meeting. So we need a motion on that by Eden Blair and seconded by Rob Renault. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. No, you don't have to vote on yourself coming in. We voted on
Right.
on you, Betty. We welcome everybody to the meeting and so forth. And our official business would be approval of our minutes. And I need a motion by Mr. Dillon and seconded by Rob. And looking at these minutes, does anybody see anything that should be corrected or you would like to add to these that we may have missed? But Jan does such a good job, she usually doesn't miss anything. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as written, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on for informational items. And the very first one, we have Brian Johnson on the phone. And if anybody would like to ask questions pertaining to our sanitary district, I know I looked it over pretty thoroughly myself, and I thought it was, seemed all in what we would hope would be done and accomplished by this board of directors down there. And does anybody else have a question for Brian? Brian, do you have any comments for this board?
No, thanks for having me. Are you talking to me or?
Yeah, Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson. I'm sorry.
Yeah, are you doing the transportation meeting or the land use meeting?
We are in infrastructure, Brian.
Oh, this is infrastructure committee.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just listen then. What time does the land use committee start?
As soon as this committee's over.
Okay, I'll just hang on.
Okay, Brian.
Okay.
You don't have any field work to do. You got such good weather. You've caught everything up.
Okay.
All right, Brian Johnson. Do you have any?
Nothing for me, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Brian, thank you. All right, we'll move on to our next item of business, which would be under the Facilities Master Plan. And Mark, are you going to handle that for us?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I can handle that. As you're all aware of, you saw from the county administrator's notes from a week or so ago, due to budgetary cuts recently, we had to furlough our director of facilities till the end of the year. So I'm splitting that role right now. I'm taking care of the administrative side of that, and then Calvin Curley, who is our supervisor of facilities out at Headington Oaks, is managing the day-to-day side of that. And so Calvin's been busy at Headington Oaks, and finally this week is coming up to speed and spending some time within our facilities and getting up to speed. The only thing I really have to report, I got two things. The jail fire alarm and the air handler project was on hold because of COVID when the jail was shut down, and we've had some difficulty getting that going again, getting the contractors back in the building, but we have a meeting scheduled for Friday with all those folks to get that project going again and finished. We're 80-90% done with that. We just got to get it in and get it wrapped up. So we're pulling those contractors back together to get that going. So that's really the only thing I've updated on your list. Other item I had, I don't know if you're aware, but we've acquired a whole lot of LED light bulbs for the facilities. Through a grant through Ameren and through Westco, we were able to get a whole lot of the LED type. They are the type B T8 light bulbs for the jail and the courthouse. Currently at the jail, we have 5,040 of those. We got those for free through a rebate through Ameren. And setting in the G level, the courthouse and the stairwell are 4,950 more for the courthouse. Yes, we got them for free, but no, we don't get installation for free. So we're going to have to work with staff as time allows to get those put in. I know here we've started. We're down to 2 staff people here now, so in between we put those in. They're a direct wire around the ballast, so the ballast goes out, and it cuts. Those are, I think those are like 13-watt bulbs, so it's going to save quite a bit, but it's going to take a lot of time to get those put in. So, and they've got the same amount out there. We've also acquired a number of the U-shaped tube bulbs. Those, we've got 330 of those, but we had to pay $1,980 for those. Those are normally $15 bulbs, so if you do the math, we're saving quite a bit on those. So we've got just over 10,000 bulbs for $1,900. So we just got to get them put all in. It'll take time. I know here in the courthouse, it takes them about 15 minutes a fixture to do those. And like I said, Jarvis has started on those, and they're working those in between. So any other questions or anything?
Any questions for Mark? Mark, I know that you've generally been at all of our meetings. In fact, you probably got better attendance than some of the board members and so forth. Because when I would look around when I was either on a committee or as chairman of this particular committee, you were usually in attendance. So I know that you have an idea of what we're trying to do and so forth. And I always bring a couple things with me. One of them, of course, is the facility master plan that was done by some very, very competent individuals. Now, I don't know whether you were down here from St. Francis yet or not, because that study was in 2014. Were you down here by then?
I was here I started here in late 13.
Okay, so you were here.
I was.
When this report, but if anybody that wasn't here, these guys that worked on this facilities master plan. Now, Bob Bido and I was on it, but let's say we were on it because we walked around with these guys. I mean, we're looking at guys like Tom May, who was a guy that traveled all over the world for real estate, working for Caterpillar. So, I mean, we had a world figure on that committee. And of course, Bernie Cook, who led the company over here in East Peoria. What was the name of that company, Jimmy Dillon? River City. I wanted to see if she was paying attention, Jimmy. But people like that, and Ray Lease, who is on our Tri-County agency that heads up a lot of things. And so that master's plan is a great plan, and I know it's going to be valuable to us to get certain things done. Now, if you remember, both Jimmy and Kate brought up back, I don't know, it was about February or so, about let's put our priorities together. And if you remember, we had a big discussion on that priority. And it ended up, one of the things that we put as important to our priorities is the safety of not only our individuals who work for us, but also the condition of those buildings. In other words, those buildings got to be safe and so forth. And I generally always bring with me, because we never know when we're going to try and move into this area. Sometimes we have it. We've had to delay it because of the COVID. But if you remember, the big project that we put for a high priority was our hot water line, and that proved to be very, very cost saving when we directed former maintenance individual Dan O'Connor to follow up with that. We saved money on it. As a result of saving money on that, when we put it as a high priority, we were able to do a couple more projects down there. Now, Mark, that's one thing that we're really going to, challenge you to do, is to guide us into trying to figure out what the priority is for us in regards to many of our facilities. So don't be afraid to make some suggestions to us. Talk to us. And if we're able to do it with what we got money-wise, and we know that, there's astronomical problems because of the taxing situation right now. So don't be afraid, to give us some guidance and so forth. And everybody thinks of you as an IT man. Maybe you could just briefly tell them what kind of experience you've had in the area of, we'll say, maintenance, construction, and so forth.
Can you repeat that question for me?
Well, a lot of people only think of you as the IT person,
Right.
and maybe you want.
And that's true. My background is 27 years of IT, but when Scott became county administrator, he at that time had facilities under him, and he asked me if I would, from an administrative side, manage the facility side. So I have been for the last 5 years, helping out on the admin side, not much on the day-to-day stuff. The last 2 weeks I've been very much involved in more of the day-to-day stuff, but Calvin's very capable of managing that too right now. So we're learning together and trying to get some stuff up to speed. There's some focus we've had some challenges the last 2 or 3 weeks in this building, which are HVAC systems. We've had some pumps break, and we've walked in here the last couple Mondays and had some issues, and we're working on how to alleviate those and get warned ahead of time of those. We just made a significant investment in the last year from an IT side in the management of our HVAC structure here. The Johnson control system that was put in years ago had never really been maintained from a monitoring side and upgraded side. We funded that last year through IT. That system is now all upgraded, all in place, and now we're going through setting that system up so we can keep a better eye on that. Through that process, we found a number of issues with some of our alarms throughout the building, thermostats throughout the building, and now I've been engaged several times this week with the folk from Johnson Controls and getting those things fixed, getting those things up to date so that we've got a better eye in what's going on, because there's nothing worse for people to walk in here on Monday morning and it's 80 degrees in the building, which has happened the last couple of weeks, so not good.
No, wouldn't be. But I have worked with Calvin before out at Headington Oaks. He did a fine job out there, and I'm sure he'll try to do the best he can for us down here.
Yeah, he's been in the building this week. So last week he had a bunch of catching up to do out there, but he's spreading his time around, so I'm very thankful that he was available to help us out. So he'll do great.
Any other questions for Mark? I didn't know we were going to take that long, Mark, but we hope everything works out. Okay? Moving on, we have one resolution, and this has got to do with Alpha Park, which was somewhat discussed when we originally worked on this, and so I need a motion in regard to this motor fuel tax funding that's going to have to go to pay the other part of this expense. And I need a motion on that. Dr. Blair, seconded by Rob. Okay, Amy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This, for the newer folks on the board, so you're aware, the Highway Department cannot spend motor fuel tax without board approval, so we need a resolution. That's why we're before you for this expense. As you can see in your packet, this was before the board a couple months ago. We were putting a new wall up at the Alpha Park Library. This is the county's wall. It was put in upwards of 20 years ago during the reconstruction of Airport Road, and there were some issues with it that was brought to our attention by the library. And so we got a design contract, and then we had a contractor. The contractor is Illinois Civil Contractor, ICCI. And what we encountered during construction, we encountered a couple issues. The manufacturer has to okay the design, and there was some additional blocks that needed to be put in as per the manufacturer. The other thing that we encountered was we needed to put a new conduit in for the lights in the library's parking lot. So those are the two items that are causing the ask for the additional appropriation. We're asking for the $15,000, and that should cover us. If it does not reach $15,000, we will not spend it, and we'll go back into the account. This is just to cover if anything else comes up as we are closing out the job. Most of the project is done. We're waiting on some pipe handrail, and we have to do some seeding, otherwise, and probably a little bit of striping in the lot. But otherwise, the project's almost complete, and I'm happy to try and answer any questions.
Any questions for Amy? Be no questions, I'm going to call the resolution. All those in favor of adopting this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? All those opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on to miscellaneous. You know, Scott, a while back when we had those storms, you mentioned to me that out there at the North Range, station,
Yep.
that we had some damage, and then you and I didn't discuss it later on, and maybe these people didn't know there was some damage, and was it repaired or?
So, sure thing, Mr. Chairman. So, not the most recent line of storms, but the prior line of storms, we had straight line wind damage to one of our facilities, or one of our structures at the Highway Department's North Station, which, for everyone's benefit, is west of both Dunlap and Princeville, and then from north to south, it's kind of between Dunlap and Princeville. We obviously filed an insurance claim. Amy can probably talk, or Shauna can speak, either one of them, in greater detail in terms of what the progress is in terms of repairs of those buildings. Where we could make some short-term repairs, we've done that. As we talked to this committee about last year, we had budgeted for some consultant dollars this year to kind of evaluate the long-term operational composition of the highway department, and that obviously was put on hold as a result of the coronavirus. But here in just the last 2 weeks, Amy's re-engaged, and I've re-engaged that consultant to start working on that project. And so the long-term viability of how we use the North Station is wrapped up in that evaluation. So we've made the building safe for how we can, but in terms of long-term replacement, we want to get through that evaluation process, because if the recommendation is, and it'd be a policy decision for you, but if the recommendation is that we look to more centralize our operations at the main highway facility on Plank Road, then obviously we don't want to invest in a new building. So that's kind of where we're at today. Shauna, from an insurance perspective, or Amy from an operational perspective, anything either one of you want to add? They're both shaking their heads no.
Okay. Except thank you, Scott, for bringing the entire committee up to snuff on this. Dr. Blair, did you have a question?
Yeah, so did the windstorms that we just recently have cause any damage to county property?
No. The most recent line of storms that were a couple weeks ago did not cause any damage to any county property.
We have no other miscellaneous? Then this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Betty